Welcome everyone to the first video on this channel, and I suppose I'll turn this into a little bit of a series, so maybe the first video of a series. But in the first part here, we're going to go ahead and recreate all of the UI for recreating the YouTube app. And then in probably another video, in order to keep this one down a bit, we'll do all the coding in another one to hook all of this up and get it all working as it should, as you would expect. But for now, we're going to go ahead, we're going to start off. We're going to create all of the UI. We got our buttons there, and we'll hopefully be able to set these to actually transition to different scenes as well. Just as you would expect when tapping on, say, a video. Alright, now this is, going to be a little helpful for some of you out there that maybe haven't really delved into the UI aspect in using Godot here, or Godot, however it is that you pronounce it. And if anyone has only used the programming language for gaming, maybe now you'll be able to see a little bit more onto the software side or the app development side, for example. And who knows, maybe you'll pick up a thing or two that you could actually use in maybe your game if you're a game developer. And you'll find similar things, or maybe found a little feature that you didn't know, or you weren't sure how to do, or you incorporated it into some weird way and got it to work. And then you'll find that there may have been a better option to achieve that goal. But alright, that's enough yammering on. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So on the screen, you'll see an image here of the YouTube app. Now, I know this has the shorts button down here, but at the time of actually creating all the icons in that, we didn't have the shorts icon there. We actually had the explore icon, so I'll be using the explore icon down there at the bottom. So I guess we'll start off by, we're getting our dark background here. Because, come on, who likes light mode? So we'll go with our dark background. We'll get our YouTube logo up in the top left corner. And we'll get our bar going across the bottom with our 5 buttons. So if you're actually signed into your account, you actually have a button here in the middle that is for create. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. And for our project, I'm working on this at 720 by 1280. So we are in portrait that we're going to work with. And the first thing we need to do here is, well, let's get our background in. So our background is just going to be a color rect. And of course that is going to be a full rect for both the anchors and for our size. Now we want dark mode, and if you don't know, dark mode is 23, 23, 23. That is the dark mode color. Alright. And we're going to need another one. I'm going to name this one background. We'll get another color rect. We'll call this Navbar. We'll again set this to 23, 23, 23. And we're going to bring this all the way down to the bottom here. And to make sure that we actually get the bottom, I'm actually going to go up to layout. And I'm going to go center. Now let's go bottom wide. And I'm actually going to increase the size of this. Go about 70 on the Y. Oh. Now I'm just going to grab my little anchors here and pull that up. There we go. That way this will always line up with the very bottom of our screen. Now I know that could be a little hard to see right off the gate. So what I'll do is I'll actually duplicate this navbar, put this one behind. And make this one a little touch bigger, like so. And just say tad lighter. That way when we're zoomed out like this, we can actually differentiate it a little more. We're going to need that small thin line. If you look close on the YouTube app, you see we actually have a small division line there that you can see. Bring that right back down. All right, so what do we need now? Well, let's go with that YouTube logo up there, and that is going to be. We can just bring in as a 9 patch, so we'll just call this YT logo. I'll go into my icons that I created and bring in the YouTube logo as a texture. 9 patches. I'm not going to. You know what? Instead of a 9 patch, let's just go with a texture rect. Now is that going to be too big? I wonder. I think it is. So let's take a look at the scale. Alright, I think that's going to be a better fit. Just go ahead and check our margin because we want to keep things nice and neat. We were on 15 on the left. I'm going to go 25. And from the top, we're actually going to go 25. So that's just going to move it up one more pixel because we were at 26. And right and bottom. And my anchor is just going to be kept in the top left corner. Alright, let's go down here to our navigation. Now for down here, I'm going to go ahead and create a, let's see. We're going to go with the 9, no, texture rect. Fine. No, we want to go with the texture button, rather. What am I thinking? So this will be our home button. So we're going to look for textures and apply our home to the normal and home press to our press. And it does not have a hover state and they're never disabled. It doesn't have focus and we don't need a click mask. Alright, let's bring that down here. And that is clearly going to be too big. Let's go to our rect. Set our scale to 0.5. And that's looking to be a lot nicer to look at. Now, I'm not sure where our middle is going to be, but let's go ahead and grab our anchors, bottom wide, and pull it up to match our navbar. Now, can I stick this inside of our navbar and be alright? I think we can. Cool. So then inside of our navbar, we need a label. And this will just say home. Perfect. And we're going to need another texture button for other assets here. All right. So now that we have that set, and if you're following along and doing this as well, remember the anchors are very important to set. For example, if you did not set them and say maybe left them in the bottom corner like that, pay attention to the library label here. when we resize, you see what happens? Library stays way down here. Oops. You're not going to be able to see that because I do have to create a quick cap for it. And we have to recapture that real quick as well. Oh, no, I won't. So you see, we have library right here. You see we have the text right under it. But you see when you start getting in like this, library ends up way down here. Super tiny, of course, because we shrunk it in. But it's way down here, and then the label is all the way down here, and the icon is all the way up top here. So you got to make sure to get the anchors correct. Otherwise, you can end up with weird situations like that instead of something properly fitting like this, because you always want to keep it there and not be acting weird. I'm going to go ahead and just fix that anchor again for that label. So anchors are important when you are creating a GUI product. Oops, I got to fix these real quick. Library button, library label. All right. And since these are texture buttons, you'll notice when you click on them, we can see the press. Now they don't stay pressed because we actually have to set them to toggle. So let's go ahead and do that. Toggle mode. All right, so now that is on, we can take a look. We can click, and they all stay on, which is great. Now, of course, by default, we're on the home screen, so we can go ahead and light up the home button. Set that to being pressed right off the bat. And now we have to take a look at, well, what else do we have here? Well, we have our main feed here. We have a scrollable list of a video that contains a title, some information under it, containing the channel name, views, and how old it is, as well as a placeholder, if you will, for the channel icon. So we can go ahead and take a look at creating that. Now to create that, it's actually very simple. You want to create a scroll container. Enlarge that. Whoops. We spoiled our whole background. And that comes a little under the YouTube logo. That comes all the way down to our bar. Distance is roughly the same on each side, but if you want to get exact, we can take a look at the margin. We got 24 here, and then 687 here. Is 687 right? On the right hand side, well, we're 720. 720 minus that 24 should put us at 696. So no, it's not exact. We can change that. 696. There we go. Now we're even on both the left and right hand side. Inside of that, we're going to put a grid container. The container is going to contain one item, or one column rather. And I just want to take a look here because I'm pretty sure we were able to set. Yes, the size here. Set a size so we can actually grab a hold of it. And we can just come down. Doesn't matter. So we'll keep that inside of our scroll container. Scroll container, we are going to want to set our anchors for that to be full rect. Or I suppose we can mark off the navigation bar there. That should probably be alright. We can try that later, but let's go ahead and get some test information in here. So we're going to have everything inside of a control. And for this, we need what? Well, we need an image here. That'll be our thumbnail. Alright, so let's get a non-patch rect. That way we can control the size of it. And on this, it looks like we're containing that entire setup. How wide is our scroll container? 672. Alright. Do our margins. That lines up. Okay, right, because it's in relation to our actual container. All right, so let's take a look. If we were to get this on screen here, let's go like this and get ourselves an idea. So our thumbnail would actually be larger. Alright, so our thumbnail is going to be somewhere in there. Alright, so as our placeholder, we're just going to go ahead and use the icon that comes with it. And that'll be our placeholder for any thumbnail. Of course, in the situation of this, you would have a database that you would pull the thumbnails and icons and all that from. We'll go ahead and rename this thumbnail. Call this video. And underneath of our thumbnail, what do we have? Well, we have a little icon as well. We can call this another 9-patch rect. We can, again, use the same icon. It's our placeholder. Come on in. And that's probably a good size. Go, just set that up there. According to this, we could even go even smaller. I'm going to keep my resolution there. Something like that. Alright. We'll call this the channel image. We can pull in 2 labels. This will be video title. Super cool video title has been inserted and used here. Please click and like. Smiley bits. Alright, so if we were to bring this in, we can see it's roughly about there. Good distance away. We actually seem to allow 2 lines. So if we were to come in and type like this, we would see there's our 2 lines. That matches up about right. So we want auto wrap and clip text with a max amount of lines of 2. There we go. Fantastic there. And then we will actually have another set here, which we can actually just duplicate the one that we had there and move it down. Instead of a video title, this would be channel name, views, and our last one, we'll say weeks ago. So this would be our what? Info? We can call it info. Then we could always fill this in when, of course, we would theoretically grab our data from our database. We'd grab our channel name, the views, and all that, and we would assign all that. And we should, in this case, only ever need a max line of 1. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and test this and just duplicate this video a few times. Oh, and look, we have a problem here. That's not very appealing. Now, what's going on is inside of our grid container, we actually don't have a separation between them. So we have to go into overrides, constraint, vertical separation, and we have to set something here. So let's take a look at 300. Not quite. 400. Almost. 500 looks like it would do pretty well here. We got some nice space in between. You know what? Let's go 550. Get a little extra space. Now, you might notice that we actually have a scroll bar on the right-hand side there. And you might think, well, YouTube doesn't have that. So we need to do something about that. Why do we have that? Well, that's part of the scroll container, and we can actually get rid of that. If we just go to our scroll container, and we just grab the right side and just pull it out right outside of our viewport. And now you notice it's gone. And we can just scroll through just like you would on your phone. Alright. Now we need to set we gotta set the font for all of these. For our home screen here. How low does this go? It does go down there. Maybe I will set it back to 5. Yeah, I'll set it back to 500. Just so that the user would be able to see that there is still more videos there to let them know that they can scroll. And they're not just, locked with whatever 2 videos were shown here. Alright. So, all of that works, which is fantastic. We can delete all of these videos. Delete those. And I'm actually going to save this as a scene. Save branch as scene. Like so. And now we should be able to come in here. Just add more video scenes. Fantastic. Alright. So we can look at populating this, obviously. When we get to the actual coding That way it can be populated when it opens up and not predetermined. Our fonts. Alright, I went ahead and looked up the font that is used, and I've been told it is the Roboto font. And I have all the different ones here, so let's go ahead and start changing all of these. You know what? I think I'll go ahead and actually save that. I'll save the font. I can go ahead and do the font off the screen. It's not that big of a deal. But what we should get in is we should get the video player. Alrighty, so if we were to be in here, we would have, let me just grab one of these. Grab a control. Editable children, that's what we're looking at. So I have a thumbnail, image, title, info. All of this stuff is still going to be needed. So we'll copy all those, bring those in here. Alright, so if we were to keep that, we just hide our container here. So when we play a video, right, this is what we got. We got something like this. We have our thumbnail here, and we're ready to actually hit our play button in that, which means we actually need to move this stuff down so we could have room for our play button. And I actually didn't create a play button, so that's my mistake. But we're also going to need a video player. The size of this. And I'll take that with our thumbnail here and slide that over to the right a bit. Alright, so now the idea would be that we have our video and our thumbnail, and when you hit play, the thumbnail disappears and the video would play. And to give you an idea of what that would be like, we can come into the video player, and I actually have a small video here. And if we were to play that, we see it would look like this. Fantastic. If we set it to autoplay when we load it, we see we have a good idea here. Then all we need to do is set in our comments section. And then just another list, just like we have for our home menu. And this would be our video player scene. So, and see, it's nothing. Things here aren't too complicated. It's just a lot of things that are going on. And that'll, for the most part, make up the majority of our UI here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm going to save this as our video player. And I'm going to save this on its own scene. It's our video player scene. Fantastic. And we'll set that up so when we click on one of these, we'll get our video player here with our information. Alright, so without rambling on a little anymore, there we go. I think that'll do it for the first part here. Oh, we can still hear the video playing because it's still in the scene technically, even though it's not showing. We can actually delete that out since we don't have it saved. And we have our buttons here going. And alright, I think that'll do it for the first one here. We don't want to get too much in here. And again, I'll change all the fonts after. And we already know how to do the majority of all of this. We'll just have basically a duplicate of our scroll container for the videos that are underneath of our video player. Comments essentially will be the same thing, just with text. More labels than that. Alright. See you guys in the next one.